evening. Welcome. I'm Rich Gruber. I'm the City Council President, and I want to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you for joining us tonight. The purpose of tonight is to get kind of a summary of what the city has done and some plans for the future. And with that being said, it's my distinct privilege and pleasure to introduce our city manager, Marc Freitag.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have everybody here, and so welcome to our 6th annual State of the City address. And we're very happy to see a large crowd, because last year, if you remember, it was the polar vortex, and we were doing well with 25 people or so. So it's great to see a large crowd tonight. Thank you all for coming out. Before we begin, I'd like to take some time to recognize some of our special guests. First of all, in the back over here is Mr. Tausif Anam. He is the representative from Senator Johnson's office. So Tausif, thanks for coming. We've got Representative Kolsty, one of our state legislators, right here, and so we're very glad to have her as always. And we also have Emily Anderson representing Representative Loudenbeck's office. And where did Emily go? She was here just a few minutes ago. Thank you very much for being here, Emily. And then we have County Board Chair Podzilny. Where did Russ go? There he is. Thank you very much for coming. And I also noticed we had a couple other of our county board chairpersons, and so thank you to all of them for joining us. And then certainly our council members. We had Councilmember Gruber, of course, here, Councilmember Benson, Councilmember Conley back here in the back, Councilmember Farrell over here, and Councilmember Williams. I saw him in the back. And I didn't see any other council members, but I did see a bunch of former council members, and so thank you to all of them for joining us. And then we had our 2 non-incumbent council member candidates that were here. So Ms. Johnson is here, right here. Yep. Thank you for coming. And then Mr. Bile was here earlier but had to leave with a prior commitment. And so we're very glad that our elected officials have come out to support us this evening. I want to say a special thank you to Edmund Hollaby. He's the owner of the Italian House, and he's the one who provided our sandwiches and goodies next door. And we just want to say to the community, as you all well know, Edmund's a great community partner, an institution, if you will, in Janesville. He supports us wonderfully, and we want to say thank you to Edmund and certainly to Italian House for their help tonight. Before we begin, though, I would like to take a moment to say a very special thank you to one of our outstanding division heads. And we're going to recognize tonight our Housing Services Director, Kelly Bedessum. I know she was around here a little bit ago. There she is. Come on up. So Kelly, if you'd come stand here. Yeah, I know. She's not excited about being up here. But what I wanted to recognize is that Kelly is the Housing Services Director. She's worked in the city for many years, but she's just a wonderful city employee, a member of our team, and certainly our leadership group. This past December, she came to me and said, "Hey, I got an idea. I'd like to put together this kindness calendar." And I said, "Yeah, what are you talking about?" And so she explained it, and it's essentially from December 1st to December 25th, people, whether it's city employees or members of the public, can bring in an item, whatever's specified for that day, and we collect those items and then distribute them to our community and to those in need in our community. And so the good news story is we had a great outpouring, and we had over 2,600 items collected, anything from, cup of noodle soups to pajama sets. I mean, the full gamut. She distributed those 2,600 items to, those in need in our community that are distributed from our community partners. And what I think is special about this is that Kelly is indicative of all of our city employees. She wants to serve her community. She's professional in how she conducts herself. She is very passionate about her job function and what she does. And most importantly, she's empathetic. And so I just want to say to Kelly, thank you for all that you do for us. You're a true superstar. You're awesome. And so I'm going to give you a city coin and say thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So as we begin, I'd like to start off by saying that not only is the state of the city strong? But it is booming, folks. It is absolutely booming. And I think that's something that we need to really wrap our arms around this evening because, that hasn't always been the case. And we are, as I've talked with a lot of you all tonight, the city is doing exceptionally well. And we're going to talk about some of those things tonight. But according to the Wisconsin Department of Revenue's Equalized Assessed Value data, the city's EAV, which is what we call our market rate of value, so what's the value of all the properties in Janesville, that's increased 33.3% between 2015 and 2019. This is the largest percentage growth in EAV among our 14 peer communities here in the state of Wisconsin over that same time period. And so we're leading the pack. And that's an exceptional story to what's going on in Janesville. And if you look at that chart, you'll recognize that Janesville's percentage growth in EAV, is nearly twice as much as our peer average, which is in the blue line, 17.4%, and almost twice as much as our Wisconsin average, which is listed in the purple line at about 18.4%. And that's a great news story. We should all be very, very proud of it because I know it takes the community to make that happen. So as we look at the economic outlook for Janesville, it continues to be strong as all economic indicators are above where Janesville was at before the Great Recession. Median housing price is at an all-time high, and home values continue to rise. Unemployment is hovering around 3.3%, which is generally considered to be greater than full employment. And the retail sales tax revenue continues to hit new peaks each quarter for our community. And I would tell you that the city, the county, and our educational partners continue to create innovative and quality programs to train the workforce and develop needed skills for the industries that are not only present, but those that are growing in our community. So it's a great position for us to be in. So our strategic plan, which we started back in 2014, defines 9 goals that are priorities for the city. And they are of equal importance and therefore just listed alphabetically. And I'm going to highlight a few. I say again a few. We could be here all night and perhaps into the early hours of the morning if we talked about everything that the city has done over the past year. But I do want to highlight a few of the major accomplishments in 2019 for each of those strategic goal areas. And we're going to start with the downtown. We define that as positioning our downtown as a vibrant neighborhood where commerce, culture, entertainment, and history intersect. Typically, we focus on construction projects when it comes to our downtown. While we've certainly had a lot of that construction going on, it's no wonder to just take a look at our downtown landscape and see cranes sticking up everywhere. It's awesome. But in 2019, we really focused on trying to activate our downtown, and we did that with partners like Downtown Janesville Incorporated and many others. So with the Farmers Market, the music at the Marv, events on Festival Street, the Janesville Jolly Jingle, and other events, the downtown was lively and active in 2019, and we look forward to continuing that into 2020. If you look back between 2015 and 2019, the number of downtown special events held has increased by 50%. So that's pretty significant. And the expected number of people that we were looking to have come to each of those events has increased by 32%. And so that's a great news story about activating the downtown. And, frankly, there's a lot of folks that can take credit for that. It's simply not just the city. Our second strategic goal as we look forward is to facilitate continued growth and diversification of our local economy. Housing is a big topic in Janesville, and most everyone is aware of our current housing shortage. And that's what happens when you have new companies coming in, you have current companies growing and expanding. People are coming into our city, and we just, frankly, have filled up what we've got, and we need to build more. So because of that very successful community housing forum that we held in conjunction with our partners at Forward Janesville in 2018, Janesville has continued to push that needle when it comes to more housing. And in 2019, we brought 204 new apartment units under construction during the calendar year. And so we all know that that number is going to be pretty sizable again in 2020 also. But 2019 was a pretty productive year for us. The next goal in our strategic plan is to remain a responsible and forward-thinking steward of financial resources. Though we rely heavily on property tax and state shared revenue to fund our operations, we also receive many grants and donations throughout the year to complete those projects, fund programs, replace equipment, and more. So in 2019, we received nearly $16 million in grants and donations for the city. Of note, that figure includes the library receiving nearly $500,000 in donations and Janesville Mobilizing for Change taking in just over $400,000 in grants and donations. But folks, the big winner in 2019 for grants and donations was the Janesville Transit System. Where's Becca? She here still? Nope, maybe not. I would tell you that the Janesville Transit System brought in nearly $5 million in grants, which has resulted in 6 new buses that were fielded this past October, and we've got 11 more that are due in to replace fully our 17 vehicle fleet, which is well outside of tolerance for buses and whether they should be replaced or not. So that's a testament to Transit Director Becca Smith's and her staff's tireless efforts to improve this vital service for the Janesville community. The City of Janesville's Assessor's Office, as we all know, completed a citywide revaluation this past year. Prior to 2019, a citywide residential and commercial revaluation had not been completed since 2011. Revaluations are a requirement of municipalities by the Department of Revenue to ensure fairness in the distribution of property taxes. And following the revaluation, our median home value within the city has increased from $112,000 to $147,000, a significant increase across the community. Our next goal is to strategically communicate the city's strengths, priorities, and initiatives while maintaining trust and confidence through effective engagement. Some of our major accomplishments in 2019 from this area include our Senior Center celebrated its highest membership year with 868 members. It's no wonder, with great programming like day trips, bingo, dance and music, poker, pool, adult fitness, and so much more. And if you haven't stepped in there and just seen some of the activity and the fun, you're missing out. It's a great place to be, and someday I'll be old enough to join. So as Hedberg Public Library underwent its transformation this past year, the library staff had to get creative with, how they reach people in the community. And so they started what they call the Embedded Librarians program, which has been successful, and it's becoming a permanent part of the library's programming. And so you're going to see in this next year and in the future our Hedberg Public Library librarians out and about in the community, engaging the community and meeting their public information needs. And so a great initiative from our Hedberg Public Library. Additionally, the Economic Development Office implemented the first ever Coolest Thing Made in the City of Janesville competition with nominations and votes coming from across the community. We had a bunch of great nominees and then 5 finalists, and they range from locally brewed beer to our Wisconsin wagons, to archery targets, sound equipment, and other great products that are manufactured right here in our wonderful community. So our next goal is to build upon the community's foundation of well-planned, maintained, dependable, and sustainable infrastructure. A lot of infrastructure milestones were achieved this year, and I'll highlight a few. So in addition to HPL, Hedberg Public Library, updating their programming for the 21st century, they've also officially completed the interior renovations with their transformation project. And if you haven't been over there, it simply is awesome. And Brian, I am going to take the opportunity to say, I note that they are Dallas Cowboy colors. So just saying, just saying. So during this extremely busy time, HPL also managed to expand the reach of their services by opening another branch at the Janesville Mall, which is called the HPL Express. And so if you haven't visited that, I encourage you to check it out next time you're at the mall, shopping or walking or doing whatever you do. As we all know, Janesville is Wisconsin's park place. Due to the acquisition of 16 additional acres of parkland near Wuthering Hills and Ruger Avenue, we can officially say that we now have 65 official city parks and 2,611 acres of parkland across our park system. And so, again, leading the state in that regard. And speaking of parkland, I would also like to highlight that the city rededicated what used to be called Northeast Regional Park. We've now renamed that to Schaefer Park in recognition of Steve Schaefer, who was our city manager from 1987 to 2008. And so a great event and a great addition, and then also some great recognition of some great leadership here in the community. Our next goal is to embrace and enhance collaboration with local, regional, national, and global stakeholders to realize shared success. The successful partnerships in 2019 were many. Normally, we highlight major partnership projects, and I'd like to change it up a little bit by taking some time to thank a very important and special partner to the city of Janesville, and that's for Janesville President John Beckert. So, John, could you join me up here, please? So, thanks, John. So, John, for those of you who aren't tracking, he served in that capacity at Forward Janesville for 19 years. And he announced his retirement and will be retiring later this spring. But from a personal standpoint, I just need to acknowledge that as a new city manager coming into the community, not having grown up here, not having lived here, you know, there were people in the community that stepped forward and helped me to, you know, kind of know the path to move along, understand personalities, the dynamics, the relationships, who's who to talk to, who maybe not to talk to. I know that's not a good public service answer, but you know, he was one of those people in the community who stepped up to help me. And so we want to say, you know, thank you for your service to this community, your community leadership, and especially thank you for the mentoring that you provided me as I came into the city. So I do have a City of Janesville coin I'm going to present you, and then I got something else, but it's a little bit bigger. So thank you, John.
Thank you. That's perfect.
So one of the things that's tradition here in the city of Janesville, when city employees retire, they walk away with one of our Janesville wagons. And so, you know, for these great partners in our community, we want to recognize John and say thank you for your leadership and your service. There is a little plaque in here that says thank you for your partnership and leadership, and we wish you the best of luck in retirement. So
thank you.
We're going to do this and pass that off. How about that? Okay. Yeah, please. Here.
Oh, thank you. I didn't really prepare remarks, so I'm gonna riff on this, okay? 19 years ago, I came here kind of on a lark. It seemed like an interesting community with the emphasis on auto manufacturing. And I remember my first year, the impression that was made by the business leadership, which was, you've got to diversify the economy. It's a mistake to depend on one industry for your future. And I am proud to say that even before 2008, 2009, a lot of that happened. Some of it was organic, some of it was on purpose. But when the time came, when the unfortunate news landed in our laps about the GM plant closure, we had gone from being 12 to 15% of our employment based and dependent on auto down to about 5. So I had a lot of opportunities to talk to the press, and I said, it's a little bit like when you get a finger cut off. It really hurts. You have to relearn how to do a lot of things. But ultimately, it heals, you adapt, and occasionally you come out a little bit better on the other end for having gone through that. And now when I reflect back on this, it is in some ways similar to that. That took a lot of bold leadership from the business community, band together, raise the money to start Rock County 5.0, to recruit a variety of companies, cultivate things like the Janesville Innovation Center, which Marc and I both serve on the board. Those kinds of building blocks for the community over time has really made a difference. And I'm not suggesting that we're better off. I'm only suggesting that it's a pretty remarkable recovery that we've experienced. And that didn't just magically happen. It happened because a lot of the people who served on the council then and now, and the people certainly in the business community who stepped up to finance and provide leadership that continues today, that made a really big difference in the outcome that we have experienced that you just talked about. Record retail sales, housing values, the job market and the like. So in some ways it has been a wild ride for me to come in here and experience that low and then watch the community come back the way it is. So thanks for, it's been a pleasure working with you, Marc.
Congratulations.
Right. Thank you.
Perfect one. And so we also want to thank our more than 600 volunteers who help the city function each and every day. Our volunteers serve in many important roles, including board commission committee members, friends groups, library volunteers, senior center volunteers, recreation volunteers, police and fire department volunteers, and so on and so on. And so I just want to say thank you. If you're a city volunteer, we couldn't do it without you. And so thank you very much. Let's just give the volunteers a round of applause. So another goal in the city is to cultivate an organizational environment that empowers an engaged, innovative, and diverse municipal employee base. We have a great city workforce that does so much behind the scenes so that the community can thrive. While there are many examples of city employees performing, here are some exceptional achievements by staff in 2019. Mr. John Austin, who works in the DPW Operations Division, he placed second in the Wisconsin American Public Works Association's Snowplow Rodeo, which was held at Lambeau Field this year. And that was the best finish ever by a City of Janesville employee, and it also qualified him to participate in the National Rodeo out in Denver. And so taking the Janesville flag to Denver, pretty cool. JPD Officer Justin Stubendick was also recognized by the Wisconsin State Assembly this year for the Hometown Hero Award, and he was nominated by our own Representative Deb Kolste, and so thank you for recognizing and doing that. He received the award for his support and fundraising efforts for recently turned 5-year-old Isaac Johnson, who is currently battling stage 4 neuroblastoma cancer. And so Justin, he's a fine officer, and he's got a huge heart, kind of that same sort of story I was talking about with Kelly. And then Ethan Lee from our Parks Division was named Wisconsin Parks and Recreation Association Parks Section Young Professional of the Year, and he was also selected by the Rock County chapter of the Ice Age Trail Alliance to attend the Alliance's 2020 annual conference, which certainly is an honor for Ethan. And so, folks, that's just a small number of the great city employees that we got out there, but we wanted to highlight a few of them for you. Another goal in our strategic plan is to promote, enhance, and respect the unifying feature of our community, the mighty Rock River. Anglers Park was completed in 2019, as well as the handicap fishing pier and the restoration of the natural shoreline just upriver from the Monterey Bay. We've put in fish cribs and large boulders to improve the fishing habitat. We've identified 4 locations and installed stairs or steps down to the river so that you can easily get to the river's edge. We've also put in 2 access points along the river, new ones, so that you can launch canoes or take canoes and kayaks out. And so nice steps on our Rock River corridor. And then our final goal is to advance safety and overall well-being of the residents and the neighborhoods through cooperation and encouraging an active lifestyle. So safe and healthy communities really cover a lot of city organizations, city agencies. So we're talking police, we're talking fire, JM4C, housing, the library, and others. And we have such a huge list, but I just wanted to highlight a few. First of all, the Janesville Police Department maintained historically low crime rates in 2019. I say again, maintained. It's huge. It's been like that for many years running now. And so they continue to do some amazing work. But they were also able to replace body-worn cameras that provide security for both the public and for the police department. They were able to get new protective vests for the SWAT team, and they added 5 electric bikes to their force. The water utility also is proud to have won the Best Tasting Water in Wisconsin award, and they continue to provide safe, healthy, and high-quality water to our Janesville residents. And then finally, Neighborhood and Community Services has certainly been busy, but in specific, the Housing Services Division saw great success with their first ever Family Empowerment Fair, which was held this past May in tandem with the opening of the rent assistance waiting list. And so just an amazing year for the community. And so, like I said, 2019 was great, but we need to take a look at where we're headed, 2020, and what's around the corner. Again, I'm going to highlight a few in each of these strategic areas to kind of give you a flavor for what we've got going. If you want to dive into the details of the strategic plan is certainly posted online, and you can get to whatever level of detail you want to get to. So to begin with, in our downtown, the Arise program will continue in a big way in 2020. We'll complete the town square by constructing the east side improvements between Milwaukee Street Bridge and the Court Street Bridge. When it's done, the community will enjoy amenities such as the Cope Ryan Pavilion, new lighting on the east side, a plaza, a deck area with seating, public art, and a donor wall. And so this will be another gathering place for the community. And this will all, of course, be connected across the river to the west side by the Blaine Gilbertson Family Heritage Bridge, which will also be completed this year. And so I can't wait for next fall when it's all done. It's just going to be exciting. And so moving on to the economy goal, the city will focus on something that's been on many people's minds recently, and that is the redevelopment of Centennial Industrial Park, which is, of course, the former Janesville Assembly Plant site. And so Centennial Industrial Park's redevelopment land use plan has recently been approved by the Plan Commission, and that's now set the stage so that the city, in cooperation with Commercial Development Company, the owners of the property, can, market it for redevelopment and start to attract businesses to come in and, take ownership of that site. And so we see some growth on that former assembly plant site. And so we're excited about that. Moving to financial sustainability, we'll continue to address our legislative agenda and lobby the legislature on levy limits and revenue sources. The City of Janesville continues to serve our community on restricted revenues that are distributed at an inequitable rate. City staff will also explore a potential transportation utility fund in 2020 for implementation in 2021. This kind of fund would help supplement the funding. Instead of borrowing, perhaps we could use the transportation utility to help fund that 12-mile road program that has become so important in our community. And as you know, as inflation rises, as costs for materials rise, the city's left in a difficult position. And the question is, do you do less miles per year for the same dollar amount, or do you keep up with those 12 miles a year or 12 miles of road resurfacing every year? But guess what? The cost of that goes up. And so how are you funding that? And so that transportation utility might be a smart way to do business. For the image and engagement goal, the city manager's office will facilitate the city's first citizen satisfaction survey since 2012. This will be an important way for the city to understand how Janesville residents feel about the programs and the services that they receive from the city. Because from our perspective, it's all good. And I imagine if you're on the receiving end, some of it's good, but some of it can be improved, and we want to get that feedback. The community can certainly look forward to a newly built website for both the city and our Economic Development Office. The process will take about 8 months to revamp those websites. We normally do those every 5 years, and so we last did it in 15, so here we are. And this will result in an easier to use, more mobile-friendly, ADA compliant site with multi-language capability, which is pretty cool. For infrastructure, the city will continue to work with our partners to determine whether or not an indoor sports complex is realistic for Janesville. This is obviously a huge project, and it takes time to determine whether this is going to be the right fit for the community. JTS will implement an enunciation system on all of our city buses, and the public can expect a Where's My Bus app for riders. So you got your smartphone and you are wondering, when's my bus coming to my stop? You can see where it is on the route and how far away it is and when it should get there, which is pretty cool. The other thing that we'll be able to do is to add free public Wi-Fi on all of our city buses. And so those are coming pending council approval of that funding. And I think that this Where's My Bus app, that will be the first smartphone app that the city is going to implement. So we're breaking new ground here in 2020. Lastly, the police department's pistol range will receive safety improvements to make the facility a more modern and safe training ground for our police force, again, pending council approval of the funding to do that. One of the city's main partnerships this past year has has become the program called Focus, which is a group that the Focus stands for Finding Opportunities to Collaborate and Unite Services. And this is an effort to find where we have gaps in how we address homeless issues in our community. And so we've had some really very nice successes, if you will. We've run into some challenges, no doubt, but we're going to continue to work through those. The key point is we've got the community working towards those improvements and those efforts. And then also kind of in that same vein, Hedberg Public Library tends to be a place where people that may be homeless tend to go to seek shelter, either wintertime because it's warm or in the summertime because it's cool. And they are working with UW Whitewater Practicum students, and they'll be able to provide social work services on site at our library beginning here in 2020. And so a nice step by Brian McCormick and his team. DPW will certainly play a big role in our performance culture goal this year. So in 2019, DPW began its accreditation process, and that's a big deal because it provides a means of formally verifying and recognizing public works agencies for compliance with the recommended practices, and it's voluntary, it's self-motivated approach to objectively evaluate our public works organization. But I think it's significant because no other public works organization in the state is accredited. So if they receive that accreditation here in the April time period or whenever we find out afterwards, they'll be recognized as the only public works association or department that's accredited in the state of Wisconsin. So a big step for DPW, and they're well on their way to being finished up with that process. So we've talked about the Town Square project, but there is a Rock River corridor to that aspect to that project, and that is that the east side of the Town Square, that's going to get built, but before we do that, we need to fix the wall on the Rock River there. There's multiple breaks and issues. The council recently approved funding to do that. It comes at a pretty significant cost, but it's one of the things that we recognize that if we don't do it this year while we're in the water and before we have a beautiful east side there, now's the time to do it. And so we're going to go ahead and get that done. For the safe and healthy community goal, the fire department, like DPW, is going to begin the accreditation process. And so we're excited about them kind of stepping off on that endeavor here in 2020. We'll develop a citywide emergency operations plan. And so, when or if, I would tell you when, a natural or man-made disaster were to happen in the city of Janesville, our city staff and our partners have to be ready to respond. And there's no doubt that we've had experience in the past, but we've got to keep working those skills. And one of the things this emergency operations plan will give us a playbook for how to respond to those, so we're not having to recreate the wheel every time one of those events happens. And then, speaking of emergencies, our Janesville Fire Department plans to purchase a second set of turnout gear. And when we say turnout gear, we're talking about the stuff they wear into the fire. And it's obviously pending council approval of that funding. But cancer rates are becoming a concern for firefighters across the nation. And it's because the carcinogens that are, in the fire, they get on the gear, and that's extremely contagious or problematic to become in contact with, and it creates long-term health effects for our firefighters. And so we want to do the right thing, take good care of our firefighters, and make sure we've got a second set of turnout gear so that if they go into a fire in the morning, that turnout gear can get cleaned. They go into a fire in the afternoon, they got a fresh set of turnout gear to go into. And so we're going to work through that with our fire chief, and then certainly with the council. And so we're doing really good on time here, Maggie, so life is good. It is important that we measure our performance to be accountable to the community. And so the city rolled out Park Place Performs, which is our online performance dashboard, back in January of 2017, so 3 years ago. And we're now entering phase 2 of this project, and we want to focus on, initially we're focused strictly on outputs. And so we're really trying to develop how do we change that from an output-focused performance measurement system to something that is looking at outcomes. And Maggie's going to talk to those here. So I would ask Maggie to come forward. Please give her your attention. She has been the project lead on this. I think it's been 2 years in the making. She's delivered quite the product, and I think you'll be very pleased with what she's been able to do. So thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Mark. Let me grab my papers here. For some reason, I'm very nervous about this speech, so bear with me. So yes, as Mark said, we launched our first phase of our performance dashboard about actually 3 years ago at this event. It was a much sparser crowd, so thank you guys all for coming. This is excellent. So really, the purpose of our online performance dashboard is really twofold. One, it's to allow the public to see how data shapes the city's approach to how we deliver, evaluate services, but also it provides us as city leaders with a platform to self-assess. So how are we doing, and how are we using data to make decisions? So it's been a great tool for us. However, over the last, about a year, I would say, or so, we've been working feverishly behind the scenes to take this platform to the next level. Specifically, as Mark mentioned, when possible, we're trying to move away from output measures to more meaningful measures and outcome measures. So why outcomes? Well, outcomes are the difference that are made by the outputs. So it's really what matters to people. And I love to use this cartoon to demonstrate why outcomes are more important than outputs. Because all the outputs can be great, but I think if you were to ask the patient on the table, what matters more, outcomes or outputs, he would say outcomes, but he can't because he is deceased. So outcome measures, however, really can be very challenging to define, especially when you're providing public programs and services. It's really hard to define what means success. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples of moving from outputs to outcomes. So we formerly looked at the miles of streets that we rehabilitate every year, which is extremely important. But what really matters to the community? It's not that the city is doing 12 miles of streets per year. It's what is the streets that you're driving on every day look like. So the outcome is the condition of the roads. Another output is calls for fire and EMS services. We know that our fire department is busier than ever, but really more of an outcome that I think is important to the community is our cardiac arrest survivability rate. And Janesville is actually third in the nation for the best cardiac arrest survivability rate. So we're behind Tucson and Seattle, but we're ranked third for best places to have a heart attack, essentially. So, welcome to Janesville. That should be our new slogan. We also look at the number of building permits processed, which is, again, important indicator of economic activity, but I think what's more important to the community is how quickly are we able to review building permits. So we compare ourselves to other entities in terms of our permit review time. So now we're going to really launch the revised dashboard, and I'm just going to show you, I'm going to highlight some pages for you so you can see what we're doing here. And I hope that, if you have interest, you'll go home and explore this more, because I'm just going to highlight a few things. So first, you can see on our homepage, we have all 9 of our strategic goals in alphabetical order, as Mark stated. And I'll get to this community dashboard in a little while. So I'm just going to show you on downtown, we categorize that into 3 categories: live, work, and play. And on the work tab, we track quite a few things. One being the value of property within the downtown TIF district, tax increment financing district. So how is our property value downtown changing over time? So you can see how that's trending since the council created that TID in 2016. We also on this page look at downtown public and private investment by year. So what are the public sectors and private sectors investing in our downtown? Here, and this is all interactive, so I'm just going to do this as we go, pull this down a little bit. We look at business activity, so how many new businesses opened within that downtown TID, how many have expanded, and then how many have closed, so just another indicator of our economic activity. Additionally, job activity, so how many new jobs were added within the downtown and how many jobs were lost within that year. You can always sort, if you want to see more thorough data, you can always click this View Data Source here and really dig into the data. So that's what we look at on our downtown work page. I also wanted to show you our economy page. So just like we look at for the downtown TIF district, we look at our economic base within the whole city. So this is citywide. What is our property value doing over time? And you can see that, large jump, as Marc displayed earlier, way above our peer average. Also, as I mentioned, we look at our permit review time. So right now, the average time for a building permit review in the city of Janesville is 9 days. The state requirement is 15 days. The state itself has a backlog, so we look pretty good against them. They're up to 9 weeks. So I think that's indicative of our hardworking staff really making development happen quickly. We still continue to measure commercial permits, both new commercial permits and then additions, remodels, et cetera, by year. It's still a good indicator of economic activity. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You can read this on your free time. So this map shows you all of the city's TIF development agreements, and this is interactive and where they've happened in the last several years. So you can kind of see, what areas of the city are getting love in terms of development. And then over here on the right side, these are all of the TIF development agreements that the city has engaged in over the years, and by year, how much public investment has the city made into expanding businesses. So you can see that huge jump in 2015 represents Dollar General TIF development agreement. And so I think this is kind of cool because you can actually hover over and see, what TIF agreement was each section for. And again, you can dig further into the data if you wish to. And then with all of those TIF development agreements, we look at how many jobs were guaranteed by each agreement per year. So again, in 2015, you see that huge spike, 550 jobs through Dollar General. But yeah, you can see them for each year. Then we just look at how our TIDs are performing, so in terms of how much increment they're creating or how much property value. So first we look at that by the type of TID. We have several different categories of TIDs, and so when you hover over them, it shows you which number TIF district and how well it's doing financially. On that same vein, you can look at by year how each TIF district is performing. So right now this is showing 2018 data because that's the last official data we have in here, but you can filter down and see in previous years, how did each TID perform by year. And then finally, over the lifetime of each of those TIF districts, how did it perform financially? So that's that for the economy tab. I have a few more I wanted to show you. I find the infrastructure one pretty interesting. We're going to look at street infrastructure. As I mentioned, we're starting to report more on what is the condition of our roads. So every other year, our engineering division actually rates every mile of street that we have and assigns it a score along this pavement surface evaluation and rating scale, PACER rating. And so I'll just scroll down a little bit and show you. Here's an example. these are the different kinds of PACER rating streets. So a number 10 is excellent condition, and a number 1 is, we've all driven over these streets before. It's not what you want to be driving on, but that's a failed road. And so up here is the latest data from their 2019 PACER study, and it shows what percentage of our streets fall into each of those categories. So poor, fair, and good. And then also over here, just a little bit graphical, different way to look at it, what number of miles of streets fall into each of those rating categories. So fortunately, we only have 0.42 miles of failed streets, and we have more excellent streets than failed, but this obviously changes over time. So we doubled our street program officially effective 2016. So we'd like to see this average PACER rating trending up. However, as you guys note, you don't double your program and then suddenly all the streets are paved with gold. So it's going to take some time for that average PACER rating to show a trend upwards, but we are working on that. We continue to measure the number of miles of streets that we do. We have this goal of 12 miles a year. In 2019, we were able to do 12.5 miles, so a little bit above that goal. So credit to the engineering division of Public Works there. It's a lot of work. We also continue to track the number of pothole repairs that we do. It seems like there's potholes everywhere, but you'd be amazed at how many actually are getting filled. So down here, it's showing by month how many potholes are filled. And I love to see the seasonality in here. When we have that last thaw of the year, you can see that they're really out there hitting hundreds of potholes. And then also here by year, how many potholes were filled. So again, it's astounding to me how many that they're out there doing every day. We also wanted to highlight here just a few great stories about recent street-related projects that the city has done. So the other infrastructure tab that I wanted to show you real quick is our water and sewer system. So similar to the PACER rating for streets, our water and sewer system, our water mains are all rated on a PAN scale. It's a priority action number rating, and so this rates water mains and the quality of them. And so unlike the PACER rating, you want lower numbers for this. So here you can see how many miles of water main do we have in the different categories in terms of the condition of them. So it's good to see that the majority of our miles are in this 0 to 10 category. Something that I also find interesting is looking at the age of the water main compared to the condition. And as you would expect, the older water mains have the highest PAN rating, which again is bad. So the newest ones are in the best condition. So just another way to look at that data. We also look here at the quantity of water pumped throughout the city. So again, an astounding number, almost 290 million gallons pumped in a month. So this shows by month how many millions of gallons are pumped. And then this bar chart here actually shows whether, I believe the blue is north zone and the green is south zone. So where is the demand for water occurring? And then we also have to give credit to our water utility for the Best Tasting Water Award. So I'm just going to highlight one more page real quick because this is all new stuff and I won't spend much time in here, but in our Safe and Healthy Community tab, one thing that we've added is this proactive policing page. And so obviously the police department reports the crime rate, and that's very important information, but our police department does a tremendous job of getting new innovative programs out on the streets to try to combat some of these issues before they become crime stats. So just 3 of the programs that we look at here are our domestic violence intervention program. So within that page, you can see how many calls were placed to the crisis hotline by year, and then what percentage of those individuals actually utilized case management services. The DROP program tab, that stands for Death, Recovery, or Prison, and that's their program in response to the opioid epidemic. So this shows you the number of individuals who were offered services by law enforcement, and then how many of them accepted or declined services. And then over here, if you were to click in there, this is the mental health program, which allows law enforcement to really better serve individuals with known mental illness. So again, a very progressive program. And so then this is just showing how many individuals they've gotten onto this program. So I also just want to highlight real quick something that we've added. This has historically been just really a city site, but we recognize that to the average Janesville citizen, you know, it doesn't really matter if it's the city providing the service or if it's the county or if it's one of our nonprofits or if it's a faith-based organization in town, the business community. Really, the city is just one of these spokes on the community wheel, as I like to call it. And really, we're all in this together, working hard to improve this community. And so this community dashboard is really a way for us to highlight some of the major players within the community and what are they doing to measure their performance. So ideally, what we envision this is being a one-stop shop for performance measurement here in Janesville. So we highlight organizations such as Arise Now, which has been working very hard behind the scenes to develop performance measures. Blackhawk Tech is actually working on Program Now. Forward Janesville has a lot of great statistics and information that they've developed. The Convention and Visitors Bureau, they have a great web page that shows the impact on the economic impact of tourism here in the community. The Rock County Development Alliance, they have the Rock Ready Index, which really focuses countywide, but as we all know, economies are regional. They're really not, they don't respect city borders. So they have a great index there. The Historical Society is working on developing performance measurement standards, and the school district has a great dashboard, strategic dashboard that aligns with their promises that they've made to the community. And finally, United Way Blackhawk region, they have a few different ways that they share performance data, regarding volunteers, regarding their fundraising campaign, and then also regarding more of the community statistics through their Alice report. So this is an evolving page here, but we love to highlight different organizations that are measuring themselves. So I appreciate your time today. I hope you'll go back and maybe explore this a little more, or when you have questions about what's going on in the city, this is a great first place to check. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Marc.
So Maggie and Jordan, come on up here, left side here. So, like I said, this was a 2-year project. That's a lot of time when you're trying to just do your normal job. This was like an extra tasker for the two of them. And so Maggie is the assistant to the city manager. She works in my office and has been here since prior to me coming. And then Jordan Saltzman is our management intern. He's a master's in public administration student in a partnership with Northern Illinois University. And he's been with the city for a year and a half, I guess, at this point, and so he kind of walked into this. But the two of them have spent some countless hours and time trying to pull this all together. I think it's a great community resource, and so I just want to recognize both of them and say thank you for all that you did. It's paid off, it's outstanding, and excited about seeing this move forward, and so nicely done. All right, so we're going to get back on track, and we've got 8 minutes left, and so I will get you out of here by 7 o'clock. And so, yep, here we go. So the future challenges. We have used this slide over the past 6 years. The challenges, frankly, have not changed significantly. We look at our legislative issues, we look at economic issues, our fiscal issues, certainly organizational issues, things that are happening in society. And I would tell you, the one that bothers me probably the most is the perception of local government. We work very, very hard to take care of this community, the people who work for the city, the people who serve on the council. They're all heavily invested in their community, and it's called public service for a reason, because they're here to serve. And some people aren't so appreciative of what we do, but I would tell you that everybody's heart's in the right spot. And then obviously some environmental issues, but not a lot of significant changes over the years. But I would tell you that we're addressing those to the best that we can each and every year. And what I like to tell the staff is we're interested in victory in inches. We're just moving the football down the field each and every day, and so we'll continue to work these in the coming year. Next slide. So. we always like to see people get involved, and you can help your community certainly by getting involved as a volunteer. As we mentioned, we have over 600 volunteers that help the city of Janesville deliver services to our community. And so if you're not aware, every April the city hosts the Volunteer of the Year, or correction, the Volunteer Appreciation Event to honor our volunteers each and every year. And so this year we're going to up the ante a little bit, and we are going to recognize a Volunteer of the Year. And so we're looking for public nominations, and then we're going to run it through a public vetting and approval selection process. And so in early spring, I encourage you to look for information coming out in press releases on the city's website, certainly on social media, when the nominations open. And so if you want to recognize somebody, I encourage you to do that. And then our advisory committee on appointments will take whatever has been submitted, nug that down to a handful of manageable ones. We'll put those back out to the community and say vote on the most significant Volunteer of the Year award for the community. And so and we intend to honor that person at our April 23rd event this year. And so look for more information to come. Finally, I just want to say that you can stay connected to the city of Janesville by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, receiving emergency updates from the JPD via Nixle, connecting with us on LinkedIn, and signing up for city news through your email. And as we have indicated there, you can always give us a call, or better yet, come see us. We're happy to talk to you. Again, the city's all about being accessible, being responsive, being transparent, and as I hope we've demonstrated tonight, being accountable for what we do in this community. In closing, I want to thank Molly Nolte. She's our Management Information Specialist. She's the one who's put this all together tonight. And so, Molly, come on up. Yep, right on time. You're doing good. And so, Molly's, this is her second State of the City address. She's been with us for almost 2 years. And one thing that I appreciate about Molly is whatever she does, it's going to be first rate, first class. It's going to be special. And if you, went over and you looked at the open house, if you saw how the council chambers have been set up, frankly, if you had any appreciation for the amount of work that went into developing the script and the timing of the Nixle program tonight, that took a lot of work. Molly does an exceptional job. She's helped by Maggie, by Jordan, and certainly by Anna Catlin, our other intern in our office, but wanted to say thank you with the city coin.
Thank you, Marc.
Appreciate all that you do. Okay, nicely done. And so finally, I just want to say thank you to our City of Janesville team for all that you do to serve and support our great community. To all of you that attended this evening, thank you for attending. We live in a wonderful place. My family and I enjoy calling Janesville home. And as you know, I've had a few other places to compare. And so it's nice to have some roots in a community. We're just very, very blessed to live here amongst you all. And so thank you for attending tonight. We wish you a great 2020. And please come visit the city, contact us. All right? Thank you again.
Was another very busy and exciting year for the City of Janesville. The Assessor's Office successfully completed the city's first revaluation since 2011. The Information Technology Office hired a new public safety support technician who's the dedicated staff person to both the police and fire departments because they require significant technological support. JATV filmed around 230 public meetings, events, concerts, and presentations in 2019, and they also won 3 awards at the Wisconsin Community Media Best of the Midwest Media Fest. The Human Resources Office hired and promoted a total of 127 staff and employees, and they also coordinated 25 employee trainings in 2019. The Clerk Treasurer's Office held a successful election in 2019. They also organized, scheduled, and attended 69 Board of Review hearings, and they formed and led the 2020 Complete Count Committee for the City of Janesville in preparation for the 2020 census. The Economic Development team led the charge in leveraging $70 million in private investment through 4 TIF development agreements, and they also helped facilitate 2 new apartment projects, which will provide a total of 375 new apartment units in the city of Janesville. And of course, the finance and attorney's offices are always busy behind the scenes. We're looking forward to another busy and exciting year in 2020, and we thank the residents of Janesville for allowing us to serve you.
Well, 2019 was another great year for Public Works, and we're anticipating 2020 to be as good as well. Public Works has 6 divisions. There's not enough time here to list all the projects we do, but here are some of the highlights from last year and then also highlights for this upcoming year. In the downtown, we completed the Ice Age Trail from Dodge Street to the Milwaukee Street Bridge. We completed work in the Dodge Street parking lot. We started work on the pedestrian bridge in the town square, and we got the Milwaukee Street Bridge finally open to traffic, much to the relief of the local businesses. Some of the other things we worked on last year was we started on the landfill capacity expansion project. That capacity expansion will give us another 15 years of life in the landfill. We also did our annual 12 miles of street program work. In addition to those 12 miles, we also completed reconstruction of Ruger Avenue from Wright Road to US Highway 14. That was a county road and is now a city street now that reconstruction is completed. We also oversaw the library transformation project, which turns out really well. If you get a chance to see that, I'd encourage that. And we're ongoing city hall repairs. Our building division was busy with 97 new home permits last year. That includes 6 duplexes. And additionally, they had 3,686 other permits for other types of work that requires building permits from the city. Our Parks Department was also busy. They replaced the Valley Park Playground, reconstructed 1,400 feet of roadway in the Oak Hill Cemetery, added 1.1 miles of paved bike trail in the Schaefer Park, and started work on the Sandstone Park. Our utility division was also busy as well. Completed development of the in-house sanitary sewer cleaning and televising program. This will allow us to do the work in-house with our own crews instead of hiring outside work, which will save this utility and the ratepayers money. 2020 will be another busy year for us. Work will continue downtown and town square. The work will include the completion of the Milwaukee Street Bridge, the pedestrian bridge that goes from Dodge Street to Old Town Mall, and the east side of the town square project. And all this work will be completed by the end of 2020. We'll continue doing our 12 miles of road work this year, but no other major road projects. We'll also finalize the landfill expansion in 2020 I just mentioned, and we will install a playground in Zonta Park. We're installing equipment at the wastewater plant to convert electricity generated by methane-powered turbines to offset power purchased from Lion Energy. We received a Focus on Energy grant to cover half of those project costs. We'll also begin implementation this year of the automated meter infrastructure project, which will improve water usage monitoring for homeowners and provide for a more efficient way of billing water use. The Public Works Department has been busy. In 2019, I'm becoming the first American Public Works Association accredited agency in the state of Wisconsin. That accreditation process will be completed early this year. We encourage residents to watch the city website for information and call us with any questions regarding Public Works.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Petrozello, your Neighborhood and Community Services Director. I am the director in Janesville who's fortunate to work with your city's recreation, transit, and housing divisions. This past year, 2019, has been another busy year, an exciting year for us. We've had a number of exciting accomplishments and activities that we've undertaken. In the recreation area, we had a record year of membership at our senior center, so we are continually adding new programs there and seeing more individuals enjoy the variety of services that we offer at our senior center. We also had several new partnerships this year, including expanding music at the Marv and working with the Downtown Janesville group to bring more concerts to our downtown community. Another exciting project we've been working on in recreation is exploring the feasibility of an indoor sports complex for the Janesville community. An indoor sports complex would be a facility that would include one main ice rink, a secondary ice rink that could be converted to an indoor recreation area for indoor soccer or volleyball or basketball, other sports during less busy times, and a third flexible space that would be used as an indoor court surface or turf surface year-round. So that would really open up a lot of recreational opportunities as well as opportunities to host tournaments and bring visitors from outside of Janesville into Janesville community. We've completed a feasibility study and looked at a business plan and are really excited about the potential for positive economic impact that such a facility could have for us here in Janesville. Coming up in 2020, we'll be continuing that exploration into the feasibility of the indoor sports complex here in Janesville. Right now, there is a friends group of the indoor sports complex who is working on private fundraising towards that facility, and we are continuing to finalize details about potential sites for that facility. So look for exciting news and decisions from our City Council in the upcoming year for that project. On the transit side, we also have had a lot happening. In 2019, we were able to see 6 brand new buses come to Janesville. We have a very old bus fleet. All 17 of our vehicles have over 500,000 miles and are well past their useful life. In 2019, we saw the first 6, and we've been able to secure funding for replacement of our entire fleet through federal and state grants, which is a wonderful benefit for our community. In 2020, we will see an additional 9 buses arrive and on the streets, and the last 2 will come the following year. Along with those buses, we're going to be incorporating a new annunciation system, which will be a great benefit to those passengers who ride our bus who are visually impaired. It will announce our major bus stops. It will also give us the opportunity to add free Wi-Fi on board our buses and a Where's My Bus application that will track our buses in real time, so that if you're waiting for a bus, you can know that yours is on the way, or if you're running a little bit late, know right away if you've missed that opportunity. So again, some exciting things coming up for us here in the next year. And then in our housing program, we've spent a lot of time working to increase the supply of affordable housing, and we have several projects that are really on the cusp of coming forward. One of those projects is a 92-unit affordable housing project that would be located in the downtown area of Janesville. That project is scheduled to come before the City Council in the upcoming month and would break ground yet this year. If you haven't heard, Janesville is experiencing a short supply of housing, and particularly affordable housing, and we have a number of projects that will be coming to our community. We are also working to develop a smaller home project with Community Action as a partner, where we would be able to construct, or Community Action rather, would construct several smaller homes to use as transitional housing for some of their clients. At the same time, we continue to offer home improvement loan program, and this year we are going to be rolling out some changes that I think will make that program very attractive for homeowners throughout the city. Increasing our loan limits, deferring payments until individuals no longer live in their properties, and making those loans available at a citywide basis. And finally, another thing to go along with that is that we recently received a state lead hazard reduction grant from the State Department of Health Services, and that will allow us to provide a grant along with some of those other housing improvement items to address lead hazards at no cost to the homeowners. So I think some really exciting changes coming up, and I hope that if you have interest in those programs, you'll reach out to us at Neighborhood and Community Services.
2019 was a good year for us. Our preliminary look at our crime stats show that they seem to be trending down. Unfortunately, we did have one homicide in 2019, and that's about the average that we tend to see with our community. But behind that, we had 9 people that died from heroin overdoses, and that continues to be a concern for our community and a concern for the police department. That's why we have assigned one officer full-time. We call it to our DROP program, death, rehab, or prison, because that's the likely outcome of heroin use. And this officer works full-time with those that suffer from the addiction, trying to get them help and assistance and help them break that addiction. But overall, it was a good year, and again, those crime stats seem to be trending down. We'll have the final statistics out here in about 2 more months. But looking forward, we have some encouraging projects for the next year. We have some projects working with those that suffer from mental illness in our community. We try to better serve their needs. It looks like with county funding, there'll be a mental illness specialist that will be assigned within the police department. And in addition to that, we have developed a flagging system for those that suffer from mental illness. And what that does is when officers respond to a call for service, there's a flag on their computer, and it tells them that the individual that they are going to meet suffers from some type of mental illness. And behind that flag, when they open it up, it also tells them what works and what doesn't. And some of these things can be rather simple. Come to the side door, don't go to the front door. Engaging the person's dog or cat in the conversation seems to help. But anything we can do to make for a better outcome with our citizens that suffer from mental illness, we're trying to assist with those efforts. Another project that we'll be looking at in the summer of 2020 is called Pact, and that is a collaboration with the Janesville School District. And what we realized was that there are a lot of kids that aren't attending school. And we know that if kids aren't attending school, they don't graduate from high school, there's a much greater likelihood that they're going to enter the criminal justice system. So some of our school officers, including Denise Studica, who kind of founded this project, are going out the first week after school is out and the week before school starts. And they're going out with principals and social workers, and they're meeting with some of the parents and just explaining the importance of having those kids attending school and the outcomes that can happen by attending school, and asking if they need help. Do you need a phone call in the morning to get up because you work third shift and you need an extra phone call to get your child to school? Are there transportation issues? Do you need some type of alarm to wake up in the morning? So we're looking to problem solve some of these issues to get the kids into schools. We did this pilot project in 2019, and there were just some wonderful results. The data really shows that this is making a difference with the kids. So we want to build upon that for 2020 and have some good outcomes for our kids. Again, it's all about keeping kids out of the criminal justice system. It is so hard to fix once they get there, and we think this work on the front end will bear good fruit. We'll also be working forward with our neighborhood groups. Every year we take our officers and a lot of our partners, and we'll set up a block party in our 4th Ward, Look West neighborhood, some of our South neighborhoods, and we'll invite all the neighbors. It's just for the few blocks around that area, and it gives us just a wonderful opportunity to build trust and build relationships with those that don't always trust us so much. So those are some of the things we look for 2020. You can rest assured our officers will be out there working hard for you, and we'll keep this community safe.
Hi, my name is Ernie Rhodes, and I'm the fire chief for the city of Janesville. 2019 was a really busy year for the city of Janesville Fire Department. The fire department had 18,900 unit responses, but despite that, we had some really good projects that we got through for the year. Those are, we conducted an internal training session for our instructors within the fire department for a Swiftwater Train the Trainer class, which allows the fire department to bring that certification process into us internally, which will save money and enhance our ability to do swiftwater rescues in our community. Another important initiative was we enhanced our connectivity by moving all of our mobile connectivity to the Firstnet, which is the United States internet for first responders. This is important in case there's a disaster, that we can maintain connectivity, and it's also important that we establish a really strong link with our dispatch center and the computer-aided dispatch system. We placed a new command vehicle in service this year. This allows us to manage multiple concurrent ongoing incidents and or a large incident such as a tornado that would require a large expansion of the incident management system, and we needed this vehicle to be able to do that. We also purchased a new ambulance that replaced a 2010 ambulance. We also implemented a certification program for all incident commanders in the fire department and officers that are assigned to the apparatus. This program is called Blue Card, and it will standardize our incident management across the entire city. One of the most important things that happened in 2019 is that the city's insurance rating for fire protection was elevated to a Class 2. What this means is on a scale of 1 to 10, a Class 10 is a rating that is basically very poor fire protection services, and a Class 1 is the best. The city of Janesville now enjoys a Class 2. This will greatly reduce our insurance premiums for our commercial properties and businesses in the city of Janesville. Moving forward to 2020, in conjunction with the city of Beloit, the town of Beloit, and the Milton Fire Department, we have implemented automatic vehicle location systems for our fire apparatus and ambulances. And what this means is that we are connected to our dispatch center to the CAD system, which is computer-aided dispatch system, and when a call comes in any one of these communities, we will send the closest ambulance or fire truck. This effectively establishes the closest response unit regardless of the boundaries. This is a huge enhancement for all communities, especially the city of Janesville. We will continue with our partnerships with Beloit, Town of Beloit, and Milton, and all other agencies in the county to work hard to create standardized procedures and guidelines for incident management and response. With approval of the council this year, we will buy 74 sets of new firefighter turnout gear, which will greatly impact and enhance our firefighter safety. We will also continue to standardize our incident management, and in 2020, we will complete our certification for our Blue Card incident management. And then finally, with approval of council, we will purchase new radios for the police department that will enhance our interoperability and firefighter safety. Going forward, 2019 was a really busy year for us. Like I said, we had 18,900 unit responses, but despite that, we made some really good progress towards enhancing our service and especially increasing our insurance ratings. 2020 will be the same challenges, but we're excited and looking forward to what those opportunities will bring in 2020 and beyond.
Brian McCormick here from Hedberg Public Library. I'm the library director there, and we're very excited that finally our transformation project ended at the end of 2019. Furniture is in place. It's a great facility, a lot of collaborative activity already going on. People are really enjoying it. So if you haven't had a chance to get down to the library, please do so. You'll really enjoy the facility. We also opened our HPL Express branch back in September at the Janesville Mall. We're open there Monday through Saturday, 10 to 4. So if you have a chance to swing by there, please do so. A number of activities planned there as well, and we're really happy for that partnership there with the Janesville Mall. So lots of neat activities going on at the library. I do want to introduce Claire Tidwell, our new innovation librarian, and she's going to talk to you about a couple of neat things also going on at the library this year. Claire?
Yeah, so it's very exciting. Along with our new transformation, we have our brand new innovation space, which is Lab 316. It's going to be an open space that's going to be used for a variety of different programs and opportunities for the public. This will include demonstrations from everything from soap making to upcycling to potentially even some cooking demos. So we're really excited about being able to do different things like that. Along with my position, I'm finding more and more ways to communicate with our community and figure out different ways to get people involved in various forms. One of that is we're very excited. At the beginning of January, we kicked off our very first annual Janesville Community Read Challenge. And what that is it's our challenge to the community of Janesville and all of our patrons to read 1,000 books between January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. And there's a couple of ways that you can participate in that. You can either join us on Goodreads and find our Goodreads group that's called the Janesville Community Read 2020. Or also at the library, we have several boxes and displays around where you can fill out one of these nifty slips. It's just the title of the book you read and the author, and you slip it into our box. And this can be anything that you have read, has been read to you, or any other various form, as long as you're getting out and you're reading and reading together as a community and sharing all of the awesome things that we get to experience as a community.
That's not 1,000 books per person. That's
No.
1,000 books as a community.
Yes.
So don't worry too much about that.
Yes.
But yeah, come on down, and we'd love to interact with you, show what we got, and yeah, the library is a great place to community, so come on down.